Versatile Mage. Chapter 469. 4th Tier Fleeing Shadow, Part 1. As Lingling predicted, even though Zhao Mannion was panicking slightly at the start after receiving the waves of attacks from the White Sand Giants, his defensive spells were able to stabilize the situation. The enormous size and large number of the White Sand Giants were blocking one another, and they had no ranged attacks. Besides, a defensive magician like Zhao Mannion could not possibly eliminate the White Sand Giants surrounding him, thus it would not matter how many circles of them there were. The ones that were attacking were only from the first and second circles. As long as the White Sand Giants could not break his defense with a single wave of attacks, he could still hold them off for a certain amount of time. Meanwhile, Zhang Xiaohe was in a much more favorable situation. The fact that so many White Sand Giants were at Zhao Mannion's area also meant that there were fewer White Sand Giants in his. Similar to Zhao Mannion, Zhang Xiaohe did not have any destructive spells he would use. Therefore, instead of wasting his energy trying to kill the White Sand Giants, he was simply kiting them around in circles. The white sandy ground allowed Zhang Xiaohe to cast Earth Wave at his will. In addition to that, his Earth Element spells also had special effects because of his Soul Seed. The White Sand Giants were not very quick. Even raising their heavy sand sabers alone would take a whole 2 seconds, which gave the agile Zhang Xiaohe lots of time to react. Clank, clank. The bulky sand sabers were slashing in Zhang Xiaohe's direction, yet they could only hit the gusts left in his wake. There were only 3 movement spells among all basic spells, and Zhang Xiaohe had 2 of them. On top of that, Zhang Xiaohe was wearing a pretty good pair of magical boots. With so many ways of moving around, he was one of the few magicians that could weave his way through the demon beasts. Zhang Xiaohe maintained his speed as he ran. When he turned around and saw the clumsy White Sand Giants had been left 100 meters behind, and was just about to feel pleased with his speed, clouds of white sand jetted into the air ahead of him suddenly. 10 White Sand Giants rose from the ground, using their bodies to build a 20-meter-long wall. Zhang Xiaohe suddenly realized that the White Sand Giants would not stupidly chase after him with their feet. They could easily move through the sand under the surface and quickly arrive at the destination. Otherwise, how was it possible for the White Sand Giants to quickly gather at an enemy's position? The long sabers waved wildly, slashing in Zhang Xiaohe's direction. With enemies on his trail, he could not afford to alter his path, so he swiftly drew a star pattern under his feet. Rock barrier. Zhang Xiaohe halted his running, skidding toward the White Sand Giants, and pushed his hands forward. A rock barrier wall formed with the soul seed flowing mud emerged from the ground. As the rock barrier rose to protect Zhang Xiaohe, the 10 sand sabers that were hacking at him collided with the spell. Under the White Sand Giant's shocking strength and the blunt blows from the sand sabers, the spirit-grade Earth Element defensive spell was soon shattered into pieces. Zhang Xiaohe's heart raced when his defense crumbled. A blue swirl suddenly wrapped around his feet in the shape of a pair of boots. The wind boots boosted Zhang Xiaohe to his limit, raising an aftertrail of sand behind him. The White Sand Giants pursuing after him were planning to crush him into minced meat but ended up slamming into the wall of White Sand Giants ahead of him. As a loud crash similar to a traffic accident came from behind him, Zhang Xiaohe broke into a frightened sweat. Fortunately, he was able to put the magical boots that he had recently acquired to use. If he was cornered by the White Sand Giants, he would die to their sand sabers despite the variety of movement spells he had. While catching his breath, Zhang Xiaohe glanced in Mo Fan's direction to check how he was doing. Unlike Zhao Mannion and Zhang Xiaohe's approach, Mo Fan was focusing on killing. Mo Fan had plenty of offensive spells. There was no need for him to delay fighting against the White Sand Giants. Even their thick sand armor plates stood no chance against the destructive power of the lightning and fire elements. The full power of Fiery Fist, 9 halls was displayed against demon beasts that lined up in rows. Every time Mo Fan cast the spell, the White Sand Giants would fall to the ground in chunks. However, Mo Fan needed some time to cast the Fiery Fist, 9 halls, so he had to switch between different spells before he had enough time to illustrate the star pattern. Luckily, the battle broke out as the sun was setting, allowing him to utilize his shadow element. Otherwise, with so many white sand giants flanking him at the same time, he would never have the chance to complete the complicated star pattern. It was not like Mo Fan had never experienced being surrounded by demon beasts before. When he was in the middle of the giant lizards back in Jinlan City, he had used his 4th tier lightning strike to create a paralyzing electric field around him. Unhappily, the paralyzing effect of lightning strike was not effective against these white sand demons. The elemental beasts did not have flesh or blood, so the damage inflicted by the lightning element was reduced to a certain degree. As such, Mo Fan was only using the lightning spells to penetrate their armor plates for a killing blow. The most effective element was fire. Even though a single 4th tier fire burst alone was not enough to inflict serious damage to the white sand giants, it was able to disrupt their formation briefly, and a few more would blast them into pieces. Every time he killed a white sand giant, the little loach pendant would retrieve their soul remnant. Mo Fan quickly killed at least 10 white sand giants. It appeared that the soul remnants from the white sand giants were relatively high quality. Initially, Mo Fan needed 30 servant-class soul remnants to refine a soul essence, but after collecting 10 soul remnants of the white sand giants, the little loach pendant produced a servant-class soul essence. As a matter of fact, Mo Fan had already strengthened 5 of the stars in the Shadow Element Nebula. He could strengthen another with the freshly acquired soul essence, which meant he was only 1 soul essence away from improving the Shadow Element basic spell, Fleeing Shadow, to the 4th tier. That being said, he would need to kill around 40 more white sand giants to refine another servant-class soul essence and rank up his Fleeing Shadow. If he could level up the spell, it would be a glimpse of hope that could change the tide of this difficult battle. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.